Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, collectors of all ages, welcome back to AussieVerse. And tonight we are back with a live chat. I have pulled out this shirt for a reason. The reason is because not only are you seeing our normal faces, we've got the awesome Sharif, the single issue Steve, but down in the other corner, who's this? We have Chris Cuzco Weiser. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, how are we?
Very good, very good.
Very good, mate.
Thank you.
If you do want to interact with us, give us hints for shows, critiques, anything you want to say to us, hit us up on Instagram, AussieVerse_Comx, where you can also see our graphic designer, A51_designs. Enough of the love, and let's get down to the plug-in. We already have our first comment of the night, and that is, of course, Claudia. Okay, thank you very much, Claudia. Hi. Tonight, we are going to be talking MCU. Chris has come up with many points of topics to talk about, many of which are very interesting topics. And we've highlighted 3 as per the thumbnail. And if we have time, we will talk about more. But before we get into that, Chris, tell people who you are.
Recently unemployed in my kingdom. You're in my stream room, my computer room, and as of tomorrow, I will be back to live streaming video games, but through YouTube platform. My Twitch, which I found out today, oddly enough, hadn't streamed for a week and a bit, got auto-banned for supposedly botting, which makes no sense. So I sent through an appeal submission saying, that doesn't make any sense. I'm a human. So we'll see where that goes. But in the interim, I was already sort of on the process of starting the YouTube thing. So I'd already designed up the new display picture and something basic for banner stuff. So yeah, that's me. Otherwise, in regards to what you guys talk about, comics, etc., I'm not a reader. And not that I can't, just that I don't. I've recently, and thanks to Bo as well, but I've recently just found myself up at 3 a.m. because I've got no job, watching some of the different YouTubers that read you through comics and stuff like that. Because for me right now, and that's a big part of the conversations we'll have today, was that the MCU and even the DC universe have both been so very boring for me over the last year, and really just needed something else to consume in that realm. So I started listening and watching some really interesting YouTubers do some comic read-throughs and stuff like that. And I'm seeing and hearing storylines for the first time that I think, wow, that's awesome. Imagine if they did that as a film. And then that just gets me more upset because they don't have it as a film. But yeah, that's basically it. Not that I won't ever branch out into the world of comics or anything like that, but I'm just super into cinema.
He will. He's already going down that well, because prior to going live tonight, he already turned around and said, I just found this awesome character. He's really, really cool. That's the shit. Maestro.
Yeah.
Who's having an omnibus that's coming out soon? Maestro. All right. So the first topic of conversation tonight, I think we're going to start with is, it's a bit of a hot topic at the moment due to the actor and the allegations that have been held against him and the recent arrest. But is Kang going to be the Thanos of Phase 4 still? And do we want a recasting? Steve, what do you reckon, man? Give us your thoughts straight off the bat of that.
It's a really, I might say this all the time because my favourite word apparently is interesting from what a lot of people tell me. It is quite interesting. So, look, in all honesty, I reckon they need a recast. I would actually go with a recast. I think the character's too important to just, sort of fob off for the moment and go down a different pathway. I think he's been introduced now, and it's an important character in the MCU. So they definitely need to carry on with it. I would, myself, I would recast it.
So you don't think
probably
it's going to just write him off somehow? You want to keep the Kang? Yeah, okay, cool, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Sharif.
Might not be a popular take, but we are still early in Phase 4. We've still got a few more ahead. Even though Marvel has laid down the plans, it's still early enough for them to recast. Maybe take a left and do a different villain. Yeah, I mean, fair enough that Loki season 2 is coming up soon. Maybe that may be the last chance that we may be able to see Kang as the character, but like I said, it's still early. There you go.
Fair enough.
There you go. I think that's solved.
Chris,
That's a
your
good
thoughts?
Obviously, they haven't gone horribly in depth with him, and he's only been portrayed for that short period of time. I think from the little I know of Kang the Conqueror, he actually could be a pretty decent villain. And I'm actually not a big fan of the recasting concept for anything. Like, for instance, Back to the Future, recasting just killed me. He drops his girlfriend off on the porch, and then the next movie, his girlfriend's a different actress. But I don't know who else they're going to replace it with naturally. Like, they haven't queued anything else up from what I can see. And I think they need to have a villain because they're going to need to kick something into gear to justify, Fantastic Four and stuff like that. That's if, obviously, with all this writing related stuff, if that's going to move forward, Fantastic Four needs something decent, like a really decent villain. And he is one of the many people that has fought them within the comic verse. So I don't think there's an appropriate replacement, but I don't like recasting. So I'm set in the middle where I'm like, it is what it is. I don't know. I'm a bad person when it comes to the fact that I don't care what actors do in their time unless they've murdered someone or committed genuine acts of like horrible human, like just basic Hollywood shit. They're all freaks anyway, so just let them do their thing. As long as they produce good films, I don't care what they do in the dark depths of their own home or in the back of private clubs that I'm not allowed in.
Yeah. Good point.
Or you know what? One possible way that they could do this is maybe not recast him, bring him back for a 5-minute cameo, and to introduce him to another big bad for the whole series.
Yeah.
Like a natural introduction. Jonathan Majors just steps in for 5 minutes, $400,000 paycheck, where he goes, God damn it, I've fallen again. And then as he's fallen, some guy, you see this glowing over him, and it's Sinestro with the Yellowstone, and he's like, "Sup?"
I'm up for that.
I'm up for that too.
I used to hate recasting too, but after the Black Panther, like, I really wanted them to recast Black Panther. So now I'm very favorable towards these characters staying as long as they're still on screen somehow. So yeah, I'm cool to recast him. However, I think what people, just to go back on what you said about Marvel being you've been a bit bored for the last year, I think people need to look more to the future, which is with Fantastic Four, with Deadpool going through the timeline with Wolverine, because that's what the movie's going to be about, with Loki and him doing his time wobbly shit at the moment as well. And I feel like I'm forgetting something else. All of this is leading up into Secret Wars. And from what we've been told so far, if we thought Spider-Man with the 3 different Spider-Men blew our minds, Secret Wars is going to blow it out of the park, man. Deadpool and Wolverine is meant to be a swan song for all the Fox movies, so that already tells you what they're doing there. And then the Secret Wars is going to explode. So yeah, I reckon recast Kang, but keep the character, and then you can just put him in another scene in Secret Wars and explain that.
Or it could be a multiversal Kang. I know they I know they saw the shot of all of that as Jonathan Majors, but as in, what makes you not reinvent him in another way, where he one of the many verses had something happen to him, reconstructive surgery, or went into hiding. You pick a Kang that says he went into hiding, and You know what I mean? Like, there is ways to palm it off without it being crazy, but at the same time, that's like a trope that maybe a lot of those films can't be bothered with. So.
All right. Well, then, if you guys, let's say you all want Kang to go die in the film, right? Who would you want to replace him as the big bad? I know somebody from Facebook just said Doom, but what would you guys pick as the big bad? Not just a bad, but the big bad. And their silence befell.
It is a hard question because they have to be more than just a single story villain. They have to carry it like Thanos could.
I reckon it's not as epic as what you would want, but I reckon it would work if you did it right. Because obviously this big bad, you just need a placeholder big bad until like the Galactus saga, for example, which we know is coming. I reckon Kingpin, set him up, because we've also been told that in Daredevil, I'm pretty sure we've been told in the new Daredevil show, he's going to be the new mayor, just like he is in the comics. So he's going to have power. And then you're going to have Thunderbolt Ross, that's apparently going to be president of the United States by the time Thunderbolts comes around. So you could have this whole cabal of evil
mini-boss.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Mini-boss that could carry across for a couple of those conjoining overlap movies where we sort of get the Phase 4 people to join for their movie here and their movie here and then their movie here, and then you assemble them again.
Yeah, there was also a saga in comics, Chris, after Secret Invasion, which I'm sure you know is the show coming out in like a week or two.
Yeah.
In the comics after that, there was a dark time in Marvel Comics called Dark Reign, and it was the best time to read comics, in my opinion, because pretty much the big bad became the president, took over the Avengers, took over X-Men. It was all supervillains running everything, and it was just insane. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get something very similar like that in the MCU.
Yeah, because funny thing, even just 1 second before you mentioned Kingpin, I wanted to blurt out Normie. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but you can't have him yet. He's going to be introduced to Spider-Man, right?
I don't care. do some movie magic. Have him in the background. Do a silhouette of him of his wavy hair. You know, tease us just a little bit. Tickle there.
Is that like tickle our? Is that what you're saying?
just like how we were teased with Thanos early on, 5-second clips, 10-second clips, and then 10 years later, then we'll see him.
Pretty much what Chris said, yeah.
That would be really good. I think, and I don't know, you guys might be able to correct me because I haven't watched all of the Marvel TV shows, but the last we had of Kingpin would have been against Kate Bishop in Hawkeye. Is that?
Yes.
So is that the last time we've seen him in that universe? Because at the end of that, he still looked like he felt strong.
Yeah, but do you remember he supposedly got shot in the head, but you didn't see it as well?
He just has so much re-emergence potential there. He really could come out of anything. You could see, they could sub-tier it. They could even have someone smaller below him create ruckus to establish one more film where they're introducing whatever characters they've got left.
Well, apparently he's going to be in the Echo show and then Daredevil.
Right,
That's the next two Kingpin appearances.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are definitely getting him back. And I think he might be coming back blind because that also happened in Daredevil, the comics, for a while because, he got shot in the head. So, yeah.
Question, is it too early to reintroduce Apocalypse?
I don't think so. I think Apocalypse would be a great choice, Steve. A great choice for a big bad, yeah. Yeah. Chris, do you know Apocalypse? You saw an X-Men movie? It was in a really bad X-Men movie, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry. I do. Yeah, I recognize him.
Yeah. That's a good choice.
He is. Yeah, true. He was in X-Men. Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
What's his name from Moon Knight?
Yeah.
Oscar Isaacs.
Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah.
Oski. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, completely forgot about that. He would be good. If
all right.
portrayed appropriately.
Next, we'll move on Spider-Man. We've written here, wiped minds. Do we want more Tom Holland? And what is our ideal direction for the character? Chris, I'll let you start this one off, mate.
So, I actually like Tom Holland's Spider-Man a lot. I think he's right in between being so young. Like, he's the age-appropriate Spider-Man to me.
Yeah.
And I think Tom Holland, range-wise, has the ability to be serious. Like, in the scene where he goes to, kill the Goblin. You can see that he can be angry, furious, and strong, but then he plays off that kiddish charm, looking baby-faced to an extent, that whole concept. So I think he's super well balanced. I would want more Tom Holland, because at the end, when you just have him wiped and there's that short section of he's just going to jump back out his college window and, jump around rooftops for a little while. Part of me wants more of that. I want, and I don't know how you would write it back in without just doing the act of the mind wipe and all that, like doing it injustice by sort of just being like, oh, well, undone. People know him again, or reintroduction and therefore new slate, without it seeming drab, I guess. But I want Spider-Man's definitely probably one of my favorite heroes. And not only because he's had obviously different with Sony and all that, all the different portrayals of him. And a lot of people have different sagas. Like my partner, her favorite is Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. And mine was Tobey Maguire. And then we got Tom. And then all of a sudden I was like, nah, Tom Holland is like this perfect, seemingly balanced in between the two of them, where Andrew Garfield seemed too cool to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man's going to be a little bit of a dork. He wasn't that popular, you know what I mean? And Tobey Maguire was like full-blown
awkward
finger guns dork, you know what I mean? Awkward, correct. So Tom Holland was really balanced. But yeah, I just don't know how you would go about it. I do want more, like 100%. I would even let him have another solo movie. Like
he's having another 3, I think they said.
But that's my big thing, is that I think the thing that we all crave is that interlock, or that concept where we start having all these overlaps between these characters. So I want him to have, in the same way that Captain America and Iron Man had the Winter Soldier, even though they would, Civil War, but then you've got Bucky, Winter Soldier, you've got all these like movies where two people sort of are the primary characters. He needs one where he coexists with another character other than Doctor Strange, because that was okay, but I want Spider-Man buddy cop movie. I want Spider-Man with someone. I don't know.
I'm dying for Spider-Man and Punisher, man. I'm dying for Spider-Man and Punisher.
You know what? Even Venom related would be sick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Spider-Man and then at that point, Tom Hardy, Tom Holland. Like, I don't know what that interaction would look like, but it could be sick, because I also think Tom Hardy's sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I 100% want more movies, and I want them to still be Tom Holland. I don't see any point in moving any other directions, and I don't see, because he just doesn't.
What about the wiped minds angle that you brought up though?
That is the hard part, isn't it? Really, I think it's with it seeming the most natural. I feel like he just reintroduces himself into the world by not by his choice. Maybe he spends several years attempting to be under the radar, finish university or whatever, and you enter into it where he's almost forced to act. And then one day someone go, like, he's forced to act, and you get one of the members of the Avengers that are left or whatever be like, who the hell are you? And then he has to go through a little bit of explaining, and because nothing is out of reach.
Well, no, because they haven't forgotten who Spider-Man is. They just forgotten who Peter Parker is.
Yeah, but as in, like, for a lot of them, knowing who, like, his biggest thing wasn't his relationship as Spider-Man to the people of New York. His biggest relationship was Peter Parker with Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So human to human. But they've forgotten that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So our biggest problem is that he's got no emotional connection to anyone anymore. So sure, Spider-Man still exists, and they go, Spider-Man showing himself, or he's the wisecracking, kid of Queens or whatever. They then have to reestablish emotional connections with someone, because that was the strongest trope for him, was him and Tony Stark's like father, son, cool uncle, cool nephew.
That's why, even though I was shocked, like everybody at the end of that film, with the direction they went in, the one grain of hope that they gave you, which was smart writing, was the Mary Jane and him, how that necklace, you know, because you know she's going to remember him somehow in the next film. You know, it's got to happen, right?
Yeah, the bond's too strong.
Yeah. So, Steve, who's your favourite Spider-Man actor?
I'm same. I'm with Chris. Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland and Chris said it exactly the way I would say it. He provides that really good balance.
Mm.
I mean, I've enjoyed all of them. All of them, I think, have got their own merits. But there's just something about Tom Holland. He's got this nice little childlike quality about him. But when he needs to be serious and step up into the role of a hero, he actually does it.
Yeah.
I just think, I think Tom Holland was a really, really good casting choice, and I would love to see more Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. I'd be more than happy to see him in many more movies to come.
Sharif, I'm guessing it's Toby, yeah?
I wouldn't mind more Toby. Seeing how all three are aware of each other now, and Toby has, in character, has had more years experience. He could be the pseudo Uncle Ben. Tom could look up to Toby for guidance.
Well, you know they're going to hook up again, because at the end of it they said we should do this again sometime, and I'm telling you, it's Secret Wars again. Everyone's coming back for Secret Wars.
I think there's too much for that.
No, they're now talking about splitting it into 2 films because it's going to be too big.
Because I mean, even for Tom Holland, he's moving on to college or university. He's gonna get a new group of people who, two of his best friends have.
You'd think in the next movie,
don't remember him anymore. Yeah,
that'd be Harry Osborn. Yeah, you know what I mean. He's got to meet his best friend now. You know, but actually, I don't know if they're going to have any Osborns, because Norman Osborn said Oscorp doesn't exist in this reality. So who the hell knows?
They could be Osborns without Oscorp.
They can be
unsuccessful at starting business.
They're the janitors at the school.
I was going to say they're just awful at whatever job they're in, but they're still around. It's a famous line of janitorial staff at school.
Yeah, true. All right. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about with that topic?
Oh, you haven't? Have you told it? What's your?
Oh, well, you know what? So
I reckon you would have a strong opinion on Spider-Man, believe it or not.
It's really, really hard, man, because the older I get, the more my opinion changes. Because for most of my life, it was always Toby, right? And I always enjoyed Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Spider-Man, but I didn't like him as Peter Parker because he was too cool, right? Which isn't his fault. That's the writers. And I didn't like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man that much because I thought he sounded too much like a pussy, but he was really good as Peter Parker. And Tom Holland, agreed, he's perfect as both. However, when all 3 Spider-Man were together and they were bantering, I've got to admit, man, Andrew Garfield was just, everything that came out of Andrew Garfield's mouth was just comedy gold. You know, everything. You know, I'll get your phone number after. And I want to fight an alien, and it's everything that came out of him. I'm pissing myself with him. So it makes me want to see more Andrew Garfield now.
He's the heavy side of the wisecracking part of Spider-Man, like the.
I guess so. Yeah. Because when his first Spider-Man movie came out, I remember the thing that I really loved about it was how wisecracking he was. Because Tobey Maguire's really felt a bit forced.
He's definitely probably the comic relief out of the 3, isn't he?
Yeah. So we need Andrew Garfield Spider-Man to meet Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
That's comedy. That's going to be comedy gold.
What was that, Steve?
Sorry, the Spider-Man Deadpool movie would be cool too, because
100%.
In the comics, it's been really funny.
Well, heaps of the original X-Men casts have all signed on for the Deadpool Wolverine movie. So a lot of them have already been confirmed. You've got Patrick, God, I always forget that guy's name. Stewart, thank you. Ian McKellen as well. You
were going to go with Swayze, which is a whole other film.
yeah, that's on me.
And a few others. Moving on. You want to know something? I didn't know who Harry Styles was. No, I have no idea.
Right. Okay.
What
He's
drop
very-
were you
he's very
under?
famous.
I don't know,
Mate,
man.
I don't
He's
listen
very
to it.
famous,
I
not
mean,
just as Harry Styles. Do you
Man,
know,
it took me two-
you would
it
know
took
One
me two-
Direction.
Yeah, I've heard of what. Yeah,
That's impossible to have not heard of One
Was he
Direction.
from there? Was he?
Correct. That's where he got
Right.
famous.
Okay.
through
It took
Britain's
me
Got
2
Talent.
years to realize Dua Lipa was an actual person and not a product that you put on your face. I thought it was a girl cosmetic thing, you know. So I'm really not out there with the new music unless there's a lot of like metal in it, you know, Steve. Anyway, that brings me to the main point of the thumbnail because it really looked sexualized, I think, because of Harry Styles.
Because
But
Harry Styles is sexual.
Harry Styles is in Marvel and he's playing Star Fox. Anybody know who Star Fox is here?
Is he predominantly evil? Like I know that he's Thanos' brother, technically.
Brother, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He's not evil. He's not evil.
But from the little bits that I've read, it's like,
He's
where
just
does
very.
he stand? You know what I mean?
He's an I don't know if he's an empath because he can. No, empath means you can feel. He can control emotions, and make people fall in love with him, and which is why he's really egotistical because all he has to do is walk down the street and everybody loves him.
Cast the current sexy man of that year.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's been an Avenger. He was in the Avengers, I think, 80s or 90s. I can't remember when. And I didn't know that much about him until I read a lot more of the cosmic stuff in Marvel. But he's not bad, actually. He's not a bad character. Steve, Sharif?
Mate, the only Star Fox I know was a video game that was out in the 80s. It was a little spaceship. That was it. I have no idea who this guy is, so I'll leave it up to you, Blake.
Did you remember seeing Harry Styles, though, come out at the end of Eternals, I think it was?
It was the end of Eternals, yeah. He walks into their ship as they're repairing
with the Pip the Troll, played by help me out here. That guy that's in everything. The voice of MODOK in the Patton Oswalt.
Oh yeah, I should have known that actually.
Patton Oswalt and is Pip the Troll and Harry Styles is Star Fox. And they come out at the end of Eternals.
I just don't know what they were in.
The only part of Eternals I watched were the 2 end credits on YouTube. Other than that, no.
You haven't seen the movie?
You haven't watched it? Really?
I'm gonna watch it. It's on my list.
It's not good.
It's not good, but I watched the whole thing, so like it wasn't bad to the point I switched it off, and that happens in films occasionally. But
I mean, so why are you surprised that I have not watched it yet?
Because you're a part of AussieVerse, Sharif. What if I wanted to do a review on it?
I've got.
Then
class.
he would watch it.
They would watch it.
I've got standards.
Good standards.
It just felt like it was useless, that scene though, and because I didn't obviously as I asked you just now, like what's his alignment, but it's like one of those many post-credit scenes where he walks out and you go, oh, okay, so what's Star Fox got to do with this universe now? Like, why the need for such a cool cameo concept? This guy walks out and it's meant to be impactful. It's like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And the Eternals is dead in the water. Like, what was the point?
Yeah. Well, I don't know because I haven't heard anything of the future of those characters. But
yeah.
There's got to be something, man.
They need disclaimers, man. Honestly, what they need to do is when they re-release these things onto Disney, the post-credit scene needs to play. And then if it's a scene that has nothing to do with the universe moving forward because they ditched the concept, they need a little black screen here that says, hey, just wasting your time. Don't worry about that. And then that's it. Thanks from the Marvel team.
Like the last scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Have you all seen that movie yet?
I've seen it. And I just...
What do you mean?
You haven't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the new one?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, Steve. Okay, all I'm going to say is that there are 2 end credit scenes. One of them is good and it's important, I think, from memory. And the second one that you wait till the very, very end of the everything was nothing. It was just stupid. It was a waste of my time. Just like when Captain America came out at the end of some movie and went, hey, you've all been waiting, haven't you, for that scene? You know? Do you remember that? Okay, I'm sure there are people out there that know what I'm talking about.
I'm so confused about this scene that you're talking about.
Well, Steve hasn't seen it, so I'm not going to say it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to look it up in my own time. I'm just.
You can talk about it. I'm still going to watch it one day.
He sits there and he's eating cereal.
With no, yeah, but with his dad, with his father.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that.
Hey, Sharif.
Yeah.
But still, man, eating cereal.
Any part of the film.
All right. Okay. What do you want to go into next?
Oh, well, no, hold on. Speaking of shit scenes that were unnecessary at the end of films, I actually wrote a few of those down because those are one of the biggest things that have annoyed me about this current phase we're in for Marvel Universe and DC. At the end of these films, they're amping them up, giving you all this like, hey, this is what's next, or this is what could be next. And all of a sudden you're excited. And then they don't drop another good film for 12 plus months. And in between, they've just put out rubbish or some TV shows that really, they were okay. They're all watchable, but like you get those scenes where, for instance, and I wrote it down, but it was Henry Cavill's Superman walking out at the end of Black Adam. So angry because not only do I constantly read how Henry Cavill's so forward about all of it being like, oh, I'm not going to be Superman ever again, blah, 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 blah. And then they go and they send that stuff to the end of their Black Adam. Enough, man. I know that you've been shooting that picture for a long time. Just cut it. Just before you release it onto Disney, cut it. I don't want to see that shit because it pisses me off. Like Henry Cavill's Superman was sick. And then you have him come out and you're like, okay, Dwayne Johnson, this movie was average, man, but Henry Cavill could carry you through the next movie. That could be sick. And then instead, it's a waste of a scene. Another waste of a scene.
He even went on Twitter, Chris, and was announcing that he's back as Superman. It's just like, DC's gone. No.
Yeah, like I feel like a day or 2 days later, like he literally announced it saying, yeah, I'm coming back. I'm putting the cape back on. And then 2 days later, they're like, oh, yeah, so he's definitely hanging their cape up.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Punch in the gut. Yeah. But it's like, it's those post-credit scenes that normally have charm. So the whole idea of the post-credit scene, a lot of them have admitted they took it from Ferris Bueller, which is one of my all-time favorite pictures. And it's charming and it's funny and it achieved nothing. In that film, it was just about fun. Yeah. And so they used the post-credit scene to entice you in the Marvel Universe. And then, I don't know, they're using this intentional enticement trope of post-credit scene with cameos to get you going just to give you nothing. And it's a big reason why all this recent stuff has just been so blasé to me is because I'm sitting there being like, yeah, cool, great Quantumania film you made there, but I'm still waiting to see so-and-so. Like...
What's interesting?
I'm still waiting to see Skeletor.
It's interesting, Chris, that you mentioned Ferris Bueller's because obviously the after the first Deadpool movie, that was based purely on what was at the end of Ferris Bueller's, and I thought they did that really well. But the other one that makes me sad is the where you see Sinestro put on the yellow ring at the end of Green Lantern. Yeah. I mean, okay, we all know that was not a film, but not strong with that point. But that was just—that's
a good one.
You could have just. Yeah, that would have set up nicely because he was.
No matter what you felt about Green Lantern, Mark Strong as Sinestro was good.
He was
and the storyline of Sinestro having that yellow ring can be genuinely next level. It's one of the few comic related things I actually know a little bit about.
Yeah.
And that's because I was such a big fan of Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. And then in Green Lantern prior, people were talking about how bad it was. And I thought, I could have sworn I didn't mind Green Lantern. So I went back and watched it and I've gone, oh, it's average. It is average. But I still felt it charming. And Ryan Reynolds was still decent. And that casting of Mark Strong as Sinestro was sick.
Yep.
Why didn't they take anything with it? Yeah, 100%. That's another, once again, another post-credit scene where, I don't know, I just felt jibbed. Just jibbed.
And how did you feel about Shazam then, with the Superman with no head?
Yeah.
Lazy and cheap.
Yeah, I don't know. Shazam in general also just felt a bit lazy, but it is what it is. I think that was actually one of my talking points was that the fact that they've just written up their own characters. Like they said, Daughters of Atlas, and I'm going, oh, never. I mean, I know about that in mythology.
Yeah, you wrote that on.
They've never been in a comic, right? There is no history in comic or film related universe that the Daughters of Atlas, who are in mythology, are portrayed. So they're not portrayed in any comic related series.
Where did you see that?
Where did I see it?
Because
I Googled it. No, I Googled it.
Oh, didn't you? I thought you said you heard Daughters of
No,
Atlas.
I Googled it. So I know, obviously, what I'm saying is I know Atlas, obviously, through mythology.
Yeah.
And the Daughters of Atlas through mythology. And then I thought to myself, oh, how strange. I guess because they've got Thor and Hercules and stuff like that. Maybe they have Atlas and the Daughters of Atlas within comics. So I Googled it. And it literally the first thing that comes up is Shazam writes their own villains, no comic related, you know what I mean? Like no previous content relied on at all, blah, blah, blah. And it just made me think, you've got so many villains and such a huge pool to pick from in regards to people from the comic universe that you could put in and really appease to people. And you picked the Daughters of Atlas and cast some old white bird that I can't remember the name of and Lucy Liu. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, right. See, I haven't even seen that new Shazam yet. That's why I didn't know what you were talking about.
No, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Daughters of Atlas.
Yeah, that's the new one.
Okay. Yeah. Still haven't seen it. Have you guys seen that one? What did you think? Is it good?
Oh, it's good enough to watch, but the storyline is a bit weak.
Yeah. I like Helen Mirren though. I've got to admit, in nearly.
There you go. That's the old woman name.
Yeah.
That's the old white woman I'm talking about. Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
Third act, watch her fight. Oh, she fights. Yeah. She fights really well.
I mean, I wanted to see it. It's just that I think there was some. You're going to go to
available to stream on Prime Video, $6.99.
Yeah, I'll wait till it's free.
Okay,
that's how we roll.
Yeah. I watched it at home. I didn't go to the theater. I rented it on Prime, I think. That and Cocaine Bear, but yeah, that
I want to see that too.
That one, yeah, I want to see.
Both a worthy watch, but yeah, no, that was my big thing. Is all these post-credit scenes that go nowhere. These people where they just pick.
Well, you've written another one. You've written Baron Mordo kills magic user at the end of Doctor Strange.
Because that was one of the first ones that pissed me off. Because once again, one of the only ones other than Sinestro that I know about was Baron Mordo. The fact that he becomes generally in the comic universe, from the little stuff that I've seen, quite a big villain and has quite a long series of him being villainous. And so they have that scene where it almost looks like he's going to hit back and become this massive villain for the show, and then he's gone.
Yeah,
and you only see him again in Multiverse, I think, because he comes out as a different version of himself with the dreads and the Rastafarian thing.
Yeah, I do want them to pay that off. Did you know all the the Incredible Hulk movie? All those the actors are coming back for Captain America 4. You've got what's her name from Lord of the Rings? Betty Ross. Liv Tyler. Yeah, she's coming back for Captain America. The leader is coming back.
Mention her very famous father instead of.
I forgot her name. I know it's really bad.
No, but instead you went related to Betty Ross as his conjunction point instead of being like, the daughter of Steve Tyler. Very funny.
Moving on. You've written Black Knight, Blade of Eternals. We needed more than this from the franchise. Has it gone cold?
Well, it turns out nobody's seen Eternals. But
well, actually,
for me,
there was that end scene in Eternals too with the Black Knight, and
that's my big thing with
the voice of Blade,
Marshalla, whatever his name is. That was going to be sick. And Marshala, I'm going to go with it. I don't care. What are you going to do? Cancel me? No, I think he would be a sick Blade, and obviously the Blade movie is confirmed. It wasn't just like pipelined; it's confirmed for next year or the year after, isn't it? Yeah.
All the writer stuff at the moment.
We don't know about, I guess, projection times, but I guess the big thing for me is that I like Jon Snow. I'm not going to call him by his real name. He doesn't have an actor's name. So I like Jon Snow, and I think he'll make a good Dane Whitman. Like, he'll make a cool Black Knight. But like I just said, I watched a random clip, and then I saw a CGI generated image of him in the Black Knight armor, like a stylistic, cartoonish armor, and it looked really, really cool. So. But my problem is that's old now, and the Eternals is old. And I feel like they leave these things, like if you're gonna do post-credit scenes where you queue up something, it needs to be the thing that you're currently working on already, that is probably already approved, right? Like, I just don't like that. What's the point? It's such a waste. I guess that comes back to cat's getting into the roche. Who knows what that means? It's just one of those things where it's like, if you're gonna queue something up, queue it up and make sure it's the thing that's current for you, because you won't let it go cold. And for me, if they brought out a second Eternals or something like that, I wouldn't feel the need to rush out and see it, because it's dead in the water for me. And I'm just going to be like, at the time, it'll be one of those ones where I say, I'm going to let people go and see it first. And, if I hear it's good, and maybe I'll see it in the cinemas. If I hear it's average, I'll wait and watch it at home. But it's one of those things where if they didn't do that, even though the Eternals as a film itself wasn't like amazing, if it backed itself up with something that had to do with the Blade sort of end scene they had, and it was out within the year, I would have rushed out to see it, because that's fresh. That's current MCU for me. So then I'd be like, I want to see more. Like, this is current for me. So the fact that
could Marvel be playing the long game and hope that it pays off 3, 5, 6 movies down the road?
Yeah, but like, don't you operate from the thing that you already know worked with Avengers? Like, Avengers, when it came to people lining up to see Endgame, they had the spatial awareness. They knew how to gap everything out, because it had all been substantially more pre-planned. I think they entered phase 4 with only like 40% planned, instead of when they'd entered the previous phases 80, 90% done already. So they've entered phase 4 and they're like, so some things are still up in the air. And you go, well, that's leaving your viewers sort of able to vibe that you don't even know the direction it's going. Or if you do know the direction, you're being sloppy about how you get there.
I'd like to find out, and I don't know how you'd ever find out, but like some sort of poll where how many
sleep with an assistant of a Hollywood director. Sorry,
how many subscribers to Disney Plus purely just for the Marvel shows, and how many of the viewers watch just the movies and not the shows? And if it's actually working for Marvel, because obviously that's the reason why they did the shows, to get viewers to Disney, make more content, and put their characters out there. But I wonder if it's actually worked.
I think I signed up for WandaVision, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I signed up for WandaVision. We didn't have Disney Plus prior to that. And then they talked about all the Marvel films going on there. I've gone, that's cool, but I know how to pirate things. But then WandaVision came out, and I've gone, you know what, that could be better. I'll just get that, because now that these TV shows are going to be such a thing. And then I think like Moon Knight was good. But yeah, I think you might be right there. And it would be an interesting fact how many people truly are just invested in the Marvel universe on there. Because for me, I'm at the point, and I feel like I mentioned to you a little while ago while we were still employed at the same place. Sorry, I get emotional. So I mentioned that I was watching like Iron Man 1 and 2, and the vibe from the early Iron Man, and the vibe from Thor 1, and the vibe from the first Captain America films was just so much better than anything new that they make now, only because I feel like maybe they're overdoing it perhaps, or they're trying to fit too much in because they know some of their heroes are only going to get one movie, whereas they already, like I said, had these pre-plans where they knew Iron Man was going to get 2-3 films. It's just one of those, they know that.
Sharif, Steve, what do you two think? Because I've never heard an opinion of somebody that's only into the movies and not the comics this in depth, and I hadn't thought of an opinion of I'm not interested anymore because that's old to me now. That's totally new to me. I'd never thought about that. What do you two think about that? Do you reckon do you see that side of things, or do you not? And you're more like me, where you just don't give a shit. You just want to, however long it takes, you don't care. You'll play the long game. Where do you two sit with that?
I think Marvel has spoiled us too much, in the sense that they've accomplished what they've done in that 10 years, and we coming into phase 4 expecting bigger and better, but then somehow they changed the formula when now they've got TV series running along movies, and we're not used to it. I I'm okay with Loki and WandaVision, but then you've got She-Hulk. It's it's I would say night and day, but it has a different feel of it. What does it say?
Shithole, not She-Hulk, Shithole.
There you go. Yeah, but Chris, even when you said earlier, when Marvel started with Iron Man, they know that they'll have more than one. I'm not sure about that, because even when they started out, I think one of the reasons why they started out with Iron Man is because he's a B-lister hero, and they didn't want to start with someone who's big, and if they stumble and fall, that might affect the comics as well. So they bring in someone who's not that,
Yeah, well, we all know Iron Man was a huge gamble and a risk. If that didn't work,
and especially when they cast
DJ.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Robert Downey Jr. on on that dude's podcast? Rogan, yeah, that's right. And he turns around to him and he goes, look, let's be real, man. The Marvel movies are pretty crap without you. So here's what I predict. We go through some lackluster Avenger movies, and Robert Downey Jr. is sitting there trying to be humble, but at the same time being like, and he's like, yeah, and then they just bring you back through a portal, and here you are, you're back again.
I have seen a clip of this before.
Yeah.
I've seen a clip of that conversation.
It's pretty funny.
It's for me, I'll be honest with you guys, there's a lot of Marvel shows like Loki I haven't watched yet. I've only partially watched She-Hulk. I've seen Eternals and stuff, because I love all the movies, but I've actually had a bit of Marvel fatigue, to be honest with you. There's just so much content out there. I'm just like, well, you miss a couple of things. Next thing you know, you never catch up, kind of thing. So, I loved all the Avengers movies. I agree 100% with what Sharif said in regards to Iron Man being a B-lister. I really think that was a really good call, because that first Iron Man movie was an absolute cracker. They did such a good job of it, and it's made him an A-lister. He's one of them. My personal opinion, he's one of the most important characters in the Marvel universe now. And I think the movies have really brought that out rather than just the books themselves.
Yeah, fair point. So what are you looking forward to, Chris, as somebody that might not know as much as somebody that reads comics, for example, and reads all the articles and watches all the YouTube videos and all that sort of crap? What is it that you're looking forward to for the future of Marvel movies that you hope?
The thing that I want, or the thing that I hope will be achieved, is that perhaps, and Sharif had a good point, maybe we're not used to the idea of these movies having to coexist alongside TV now, because obviously when the early Iron Mans, Thors, etc. were coming out, we didn't have Marvel TV shows yet, so we didn't have anything like that was affecting that current. Well, sorry, they obviously did have Marvel TV shows, but none that were affecting the cinematic universe. So now we've got stuff that obviously is all on a timer, like they need to complete certain series before certain movies come out. I'm sure that's how a lot of it's going to work. I think my big thing is that I want them to solidify the next big bad, and I guess that's why my Kang the Conqueror question was prevalent, was that I want the next big bad because I want to know who we're meant to hate next, and the hate might drive me to keep wanting to see the next film and allowing it to wait 2 years or 3 years until I get the next assembled film of heroes, and in the interim we get the filler movies and stuff like that. Like, I'm cool with that, but I think they just need to establish that, because if their movies and their TV shows don't have any particular truly shared interest, which should be some sort of villain generally that drives all these stories, if they don't have that, that's why I think they're getting to that point where they're a bit dry. So I think for me, the thing that I want next is the established big villain. And that's why I was so surprised when I watched Quantumania just the other night. Like, when I messaged you, I think last week, I watched it on pay-to-view or whatever, on Disney or Prime or something. And yeah, it was nice to have that concept of this guy could be a huge villain because of those scenes where you realize that he is in fact, and for someone who didn't know him much in the comic world, he is multiversal and he is huge and he is like, you know what I mean? Is there anyone else in the universe that's collected all their multiversal selves to join up and be like, yo, it's time to...
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. There probably is. No, but that's what I'm saying. There probably is. But for me, as someone who's consuming it through their movies and through their TV shows, it's nice to have that, because that's part of me goes, oh. And then I immediately jump on Google and I'm like, is Kang stronger than Thanos? Question mark? Who would win, Thanos or Kang? And everyone's like, Thanos would beat him in a fist fight, but Kang is the ultimate tactician and multiversal. There's so many cool concepts. So for me, that idea of him is cool, and that's what I want next. I just want a villain, a shared interest, or a villain that will drive the stuff in the interim and then give you those big pictures.
You've got to but watch one of those motion comics that you've been looking on YouTube. Yeah. I'm sure they've got it, but there's a series of Fantastic Four where Reed Richards gets all of the Reed Richardses from all the universes, and they have a
Council of Reed.
A Council of Reed, and their goal is to.
Did he title it that out of curiosity?
Well, one of the Reeds, yeah.
Arrogant fuck. Anyway,
and what you want to do, arrogant. Their goal is to fix everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Everything, and it's so good though. It's a really, really great era in Fantastic Four. Single issue, Steve. What are you looking forward to in the Marvel Universe before we sign off?
Biggest thing for me, I'm really excited to see. I know it's not way off yet, but I'm excited to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman together. I think it's going to be just a really great way to finish everything off. And look, they just work beautifully together off screen. I think on screen the chemistry is going to be bloody brilliant. I'm really excited and looking forward to Deadpool
3. You have a fan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Cabbage Death is Billy.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is too. Sharif, what are you looking forward to, dude?
I look forward to Marvel not fumbling the ball or even dropping it. Where when Chris earlier said he couldn't wait for the Avengers to assemble and to kick ass the big bad. I just want Marvel to get the shit together and put the next generation of Avengers in line, ready first, because at this moment, no one's ready. No one.
Yeah.
They're not there yet.
I think that's not going to happen until after Thunderbolts, where you need the Avengers back. That's what I think is going to happen. But thank you for asking. What am I looking forward to? It is, you know what? I'm actually sick and tired of waiting. I'm sick and tired of waiting for the Fantastic Four, waiting for the X-Men, waiting for these TV characters to be in the movies. I just want all that shit to happen already. That's my thing. Cool, and that's the end. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today at AussieVerse. It's been an absolute pleasure to have Mr. Chris Weiser with us. Chris, where can these people find you?
I'm starting streaming on YouTube tomorrow. It's YouTube at Cusco Games. And it'll be right here in this room with a little bit of light through the window. Now, this will never shut off. I don't know how to turn it off. I Googled it once, and people say that it just goes for a while. So.
That's very cool.
That's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn cool. All right. Single issue, Steve, Sharif, thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone out there, thank you very much for joining us again. Before we do go, AussieVerse, as always, is what, Sharif?
For life.
That's right. And if you want to know about Australian comic book artists, Australian comic book illustrators, writers, anything to do with Australian comic book community, then go check out Comx. They sponsor this channel and we love them over there. The greatest thing about them is that not only can you look up where to buy your comics all over Australia, where to interact with these comic creators, they have all the Kickstarters on there. proudly supported by all of the Australians out there in the comic book community. And if you do buy the comics from them, it doesn't matter whether you buy 1, 2, 10, 20, they have one flat shipping rate. Go check them out. That is the latest issue of Sidgerus from the man himself, Sizzle at Comx. We love you, mate. Chris, I really hope you come back, mate. It was a really good episode. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just if you ever invite me again. Yeah, like had to force my way on this one. So
you're back anytime. See you next time, guys. This is Comx.
This show is sponsored by the Comx Shop. Check out comx.cx for all things Comx and find out what Comx is all about. We hope you enjoyed the show.